Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fanduel Fee birthday extravaganza episode. It's another episode of the Fantasy Football Breakdown. I'm your host, Wayne Cavati, and joining me, as always, are the two best co-hosts in fantasy football. And we'll start with the man of honor. Happy birthday eve to you, good sir, Fanduel Fee. How are you?
I'm great. I was a little late getting on tonight. Had some things going on at home, but happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about this coming up week for football.
And joining us from the other North Carolina, is the one and only Mr. Dunton. What's up, dude?
Nothing. In honor of the birthday boy, I'm rewatching the Giants-Titans game right now.
Nice.
There, sir.
Nice.
Just so you know, they're down 13-0, but at least you know how it ends.
All right. Any thoughts before we jump into our show? Any thoughts about week one you guys want to share? Fee, Dutton? I mean, it was crazy, right? It was absolutely bananas.
It was pretty bananas. I was surprised at how many upsets there were, I guess. Things that you just didn't expect to happen that happened. Also things that you probably should have thought were going to happen, like that Broncos Seattle game. We should have known. I mean, at least I should have. A lot of people did know. But I didn't. That going back into Seattle, it was going to be such a big problem for us, and they weren't going to do as well as they thought. Although they probably should have with fumbling the ball on the 1 yard line. They probably should have had two touchdowns. They should have blew them out, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't work out that way, and there were lots of little nuances in games that didn't go as expected.
Texans tied the Colts. The Bengals game was nuts.
The Giants won.
Giants won. Joe Burrow turned over the ball 5 times.
And almost still won the game.
And almost still won the game.
It's crazy.
Here's my 2 takeaways from week one after craziness. Item number 1, if Chris Webber was the head coach of the Broncos, they might have won the game because he would have called the timeout.
Right. Seriously. What was that?
Nice.
That was awful.
And number 2, what have kickers been doing the entire preseason? They have one thing to do. Everybody else is learning schemes and new defenses and how to set up and this and that. All you're supposed to do as the kicker is practice kicking all day, right? That's what you should be doing. Somebody snaps the ball, you go kick it. Snaps a little late, you adjust. I don't understand. It was crazy.
Tough, I guess, right? You got to be mentally tough in those situations to come in and hit those field goals too. There's more to it than just having the boot. It's having the focus, and all the field goals we're talking about were like game winners or game tie,
at least Boswell's miss hit the upright. Yeah. And it was from 53 yards.
Yeah.
Well, McManus's kick was from 64 and he missed it, and he missed it just wide.
Yeah, that's true.
He had the leg for it. It just
20 seconds, right? And 3 timeouts left.
Well, they blew. Yeah, no, it was more than 20 seconds. They had it was 50 something.
They got the ball with almost a minute left. They got the ball back with almost a minute left on the clock and had 3 timeouts and settled for a 64-yard field goal.
That is just not good coaching. But okay, well, those are good takeaways. Let's move into the show. We'll move into first down, and it's time for buy it or bullshit. I don't have the air horn tonight, so we're just going with it. Buy it or bullshit. We're going to talk about it. I'll tell you the points like I did last week. I think we got 5 good questions after that wild week one to kind of also recap us, but we'll get started in a good spot. Dutton, we'll start with you. Are the Cowboys done for 2022? Buy it or BS?
Oh, I'm buying it. They were terrible before Dak got hurt. They had 3 points, and their wide receivers were lost out there.
I know.
They weren't getting any separate. I think I could have covered CeeDee Lamb the other night because he was not separating from a defender at all. It was bad. And now Dak's out. Now they're Jerry Jones isn't signing Colin Kaepernick, so don't even throw that nonsense at me that's on the news today. They're done. They're done. Throw some dirt on them. If you're an Eagles fan, you're excited. If you're a Giants fan, you're even more excited, right? If you're a Commanders fan, you're excited. Put some dirt on the Cowboys. They're done.
V?
Yeah, I agree. They're done. They were, like Dunton said, they were done before Dak got hurt, and now Dak's hurt, and he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. And now they got Cooper Rush as their quarterback. they couldn't throw the ball to begin with. CeeDee Lamb's their only guy, right? I mean, like they had Dalton Schultz, but like they couldn't get anything done. It was really odd to see that were having so much trouble on offense, and I don't really know why. But now Dak's done, and without him, they got nothing. So yeah, they're cooked.
Jimmy Garoppolo get traded to the Cowboys.
No.
Yeah.
No, because Jerry thinks that Dak is going to be back in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever.
Right.
If he did that, that would be a big mistake. Although I could see him doing something like that, because they would have to give up so much to get him.
Yeah,
and where do they go? And where are they going? They're
Yeah.
not going anywhere.
Right.
So like, what are they doing? They're just going to give up a ton to get him, and then what? It's going to be for nothing. It would be such a mistake.
Okay, 3 points for you, both. It's just, yeah, the Cowboys. They just did not look good at any point of the game. You can't even blame Dak not being there. Okay, number 2, AJ Dillon is going to be more valuable than Aaron Jones in fantasy football. Fantasy football. Fee, buy it or BS?
I buy it. I know they're splitting right now, but AJ Dillon just looks so good. And he does everything. I know he does everything that Aaron Jones does too. But I feel like he just does it better for some reason. And I buy it. I mean, they're gonna split time the entire season, and barring any injuries, I feel like AJ Dillon will be as much, if not more, of a positive point getter for fantasy than Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Dutton?
It's really close right now. I want you to come back to me in 2 weeks, but I still say Aaron Jones is a better fantasy option, only because the Packers are paying Aaron Jones a lot more money than they're paying AJ Dillon. And Aaron Jones is good. I mean, they both have you said, a very equal skill set. I think Aaron Jones is a little bit better coming out of the backfield catching passes, but AJ Dillon has improved tremendously on that. But it's going to be close. And what's going to be really interesting to watch over the next few weeks is the goal line touches. Who's getting the ball on the goal line? But then AJ Dillon gets stopped the one time. By the way, why are they running the ball on 4th down with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback? But we can talk about that another time. So I still say Aaron Jones is the guy, but I can see why it's already a debate.
Yeah. I'm going to give Fee the points on this one. I think Dillon's more valuable. I do. Right now, I think he's going to be the touchdown guy, like you said, on the goal line. If you look at targets, they were the same last week. Jones got 6, Dillon got 5. But Dillon got 10 carries and Jones only got 5, right? And so he out-touched Aaron Jones. I don't know. I think he's more valuable right now. So we'll move on to question 3. Fee, you're in the lead. That's good because you got crushed last week, if you remember.
I do remember. It was like 88-3 or something.
We're going on to number 3. Buy it or BS. Carson Wentz is finally in the right spot. Dutton.
It's one game against the Jaguars, so let's pause. It's one game against the Jaguars. And at one point, he did have 2 interceptions that were awful going into the 4th quarter. Now, he did make a miraculous comeback, but I'm BSing that right now. I could be wrong in a couple of weeks, but right now I'm going BS.
Fate.
Carson Wentz is the same guy he was in Indianapolis, and he's the same guy he was with Philly. And that's the guy who makes you think that he is going to throw for a ton of yards and he's going to look really good and you're going to get so excited about it. And then he's going to blow it and he's going to throw picks and he's going to do really bad things. And while, like Dutton said, he looked really good last week. He did throw those 2 interceptions that were really bad. But he's gonna look good. I mean, and he's got a lot of weapons around him in Washington. He's got Terry McLaurin. He's got the rookie Dotson. He's got Antonio Gibson, even though they're sour on him because of the fumbles, although he hasn't done that in the regular season yet.
Mhm.
And they got and Curtis Samuel. Who's a weapon, a dynamic weapon. He's got tons of guys on that offense. There's no reason for that offense to not be good. And so they'll go as far as he takes them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been Carson Wentz believer on the show, fantasy wise. So you both get points for that. I think it's pretty obvious you can't put him in the top 10 conversation quite yet. But nice little segue going to the next top 10 question. Can Saquon Barkley be trusted as a top 10 running back right now after that week 1 performance? Do we trust him? Is he back? Dunton, buy it or BS? He is.
I'm buying it. I think the Giants, as Fee said, the Commanders go as far as Carson Wentz take them. I think the Giants go as far as Saquon Barkley's huge thighs and calves take them.
Yeah.
Like, they cannot rely on Daniel Jones to be an elite quarterback. Daniel Jones has to be a game manager, get the ball to the right guys at the right time. But Saquon Barkley rushed for like 170 yards. Like, it was impressive. And come down the stretch, that's who Daboll relied on. Like, Mr. Offensive Wizard was like, turn around, hand the ball off, hand the ball off, hand the ball off. Like, we don't need to do anything fancy, just hand the ball off. And it worked. So, yeah, he can be a top 10 guy for sure. He can be a top 5 guy if they're going to continue like that.
Fee?
1000% Saquon Barkley is absolutely a top 10 running back. Like Dutton said, he looked fantastic this past week. And if Daboll continues to feed him the ball that way, I think that he absolutely will be a top 10 running back. He might even be a top 5 running back. He's going to get tons of fantasy points for you, tons of yards, as long as he doesn't get hurt, which I don't think he will. Again, coming back second year off that ACL, and all the little nagging injuries he had last year. I think he's finally healthy. I think the Giants' offensive line looked pretty decent, considering how poor they've been for the last 5 years or so.
Mhm.
I feel like they can only go up from here. So I like what they're doing. And Daniel Jones as a game manager, sure. He only really had one mistake, and that was that pass to Saquon in the end zone that he was trying to force feed him, and that got picked. And that's a big mistake, and something that he shouldn't do. But I still think that he's better than just a game manager, and I think that over time here, I think he'll get even better as the season goes along. So between him and Saquon, I think the Giants' offense is in a good place.
Yeah. So do we think he's top 5?
Saquon?
Yeah.
I'd say yes.
I'd say by the end of the year, if you picked him in the 2nd or 3rd round, you're going to be very happy.
Yeah, I think he's top 5 right now. If
Yeah.
that's him, if he's back, it's like you said, he looked good and he got it and he wanted it and he did it the whole game and he gained a lot of yards. And I think he's top 5 right now. So you both get points for that. Last one, buy it or BS. Kirk Cousins is a top 5 fantasy quarterback. Fee.
No, I'm going to say no. I know he looked fantastic. And again, I keep saying it, about teams with offenses with weapons, and they have a lot of them. I think that they had to throw the ball a lot this past week. Dalvin Cook didn't really run the ball a whole lot. So I feel like game plans change with Minnesota like the wind. And I know they have a new coach now, and that may not be the case, but until I see like a good 8 weeks from Kirk Cousins, I can't say he's a top 5 quarterback.
And we're talking fantasy, right?
Fantasy,
everything. Dutton, to you.
Is Justin Jefferson on the Vikings? The answer is yes. Because if Justin Jefferson is going to do that every week, somebody has to be throwing him the ball, and until he gets hurt, it's Kirk Cousins. So yes, he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback right now. Like, if I had Kirk Cousins, I'd be very excited about it. Like, because it's just, he has a dynamic receiver that they're not going to shy away from. And I don't think many guys can cover Justin Jefferson, like not with the way they're getting him the ball. So Yeah, I mean, until Kirk, I mean, Fee, you said it, until he proves you wrong, but I'm jumping on the train now rather than 5 weeks from now. So, I mean, because if he's going to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson like he did on Sunday, yes. And don't forget, he also has Adam Thielen, who's still pretty good.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give the points to Fee. You realize he was the 10th best quarterback this past week, and if here's the thing that I'm thinking about it, I think he's great, and I was thinking the whole Justin Jefferson thing, like you were done, like that's the approach, right? And he has to. That's like a guaranteed 2 touchdowns a week, and that's what he did, and he still finished 10th in scoring. And then you look at Jalen Hurts, who was the 4th best fantasy quarterback without throwing a touchdown. All right. And Cousins is never going to bring that aspect of the game. If he
That's true.
2 touchdowns, he's not getting points. Whereas Jalen Hurts doesn't need to throw a touchdown and he's going to get you 20 points.
Unless you're in our league, which would then help you.
Yeah, true. So I'm going to give points to Fee, and the birthday boy wins. That's buying or bullshit. And Fee wins this week. We are 1-1 on the season. I think Fee, you won by about 46 points in that one. So now we're moving on to the locks of the week. Calvin Ridley locks of the week, and we're happy to report that our first lock of the week of 2022 is victorious. We told you to pick the Lions. We all actually picked a winner last week, which was pretty cool. I chose the Lions, which is what we went with overall. Dunton chose the Panthers, and Fee chose the Rams. He did choose the Rams, but he also said that the Falcons were going to cover. So we picked you 3 winners, and our overall lock was a success. So we'll start with week 2, and I'll just keep the love for the Lions going. I'm taking the Lions. Again, we record on Wednesday night. The line is -2. They are playing at home versus the Commanders, and I think the Lions pull this one out. They were this close last week, but they covered. I think they pull this one out. Dutton, who do you got?
I got the Bears +10. Looking like he doesn't trust anybody to throw the ball to, Aaron Rodgers. I think the Bears have been waiting for this opportunity because Aaron Rodgers has not been kind for the last 12 plus years if you're a Bears fan. And I think the Bears are looking, hey, we beat the 49ers, and why not go beat the Packers, who the 49ers beat all the time, right? +10 is a lot. Of course, this could be Aaron Rodgers, like RELAX game. And like, look, I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'll throw it to anybody and eventually they're going to catch it. But I just +10's a lot. So I'm going with the Bears.
Their defense looked pretty good last week. I mean, that weather was hard to.
The weather was horrible.
Judge. Fee.
I'm going to start with San Francisco -9.5. I know that the Bears just beat them, but they were playing in the slop in that disgusting weather.
Yeah.
And I have faith that the San Francisco's offense with Debo and Brandon Ayuk and Trey Lance can get it done, especially against Seattle, who also I know just won their Super Bowl. Okay. We talked about it earlier to start the show. They were in Seattle. They are not this week. And they were going against Russ. And they were hyped, and it was crazy, and it was their Super Bowl, and they beat them. But don't be surprised when they come back down to earth about how Geno Smith is not the savior in Seattle. and San Francisco, again, better team than what we saw against Chicago in the slop. I'm going to take San Francisco. I know 9.5 is a lot of points, but I'm going to take San Francisco minus the 9.5. I also had one other that I wanted to real quick throw out there. I like the Ravens -3.5 against Miami, which might be an unpopular pick, but the Tua didn't look as good as his teammates made it seem. Okay. Yeah. So and Lamar, I feel like has a chip on his shoulder, and the Ravens looked really good. So I like the Ravens -3.5 against Miami this week also.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was thinking about the Bengals over the Cowboys. I think you could give the Bengals 20 points in this one, but they look.
Cowboys defense is good though. I mean,
it is.
That is the Cowboys offense.
Through 4 interceptions
against the Steelers. Right.
So who do we like here?
Look, we got to ride with the Lions until they
I'm all in.
until they let us down. I mean, if we were really betting for the last year plus, think of all the money we would
I
make.
know. Well, lock them in. I'm with them. Fee, you good with them?
Yep. Yeah, Lions.
Nice.
This is the first time they might actually win the game when we're picking
Right.
them, because usually we take them as the underdog just to cover.
All right, let's move on. Second down. Fanduel Fee birthday boys stacks of the week. Who do you got for us?
Yes, sir. So, I have a theme this week, and it's going with the mid-salaried quarterback and their teammates. So I'm going to start us off with Russell Wilson. Again, that whole Denver going to Seattle thing. I think that the Broncos are better than what they look like. So you can stack them with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy against the Texans. Russ is only 7,500. Sutton's only 6,800, and Jerry Jeudy's only 6,300. Wow. So you can really jam in some other guys into a nice stacked lineup there. Second game is the Raiders. I'd go with Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and Waller against Arizona. Arizona's D did not look all that great last week, and I don't think that's an aberration. And Las Vegas, I think, is going to get better. So Carr only 7,300 this week. Again, pretty low for a quarterback. Adams, you're going to pay up for at 8,800. I think he's the second highest salaried receiver. And Waller's 6,800, so that's kind of high too. But, you're getting the savings with Carr, and, you never know what you can kind of put together with those guys. Third game I like is the Panthers. I like Baker Mayfield going against the Giants this week with CMC and DJ Moore. Baker's only at 7,000. CMC's at 9,000, so he's second or third highest running back salary. But DJ Moore down at 6,200. So you're saving there. You're saving with Baker. You can get up to CMC and kind of really put together a nice lineup with those guys against a Giants D who, I'm not really all that thrilled about. Yes, they held Derrick Henry to 60-something yards or 70-something yards rushing, and basically held the Titans in check for the most part. But Christian McCaffrey is a whole different animal. And those type of running backs and those type of quarterbacks always give the Giants a problem. Two other guys I like that are not in stacks this week. I really like Jeff Wilson with Elijah Mitchell being out and him taking the reins there in San Francisco. I just spoke about really liking San Francisco against Seattle this week in San Francisco. I feel like they'll run the ball a lot. And Elijah Mitchell out, Jeff Wilson should get a ton of run. And he's only 6,300. So you're really saving a lot there. And another guy who I really like that I still can't believe is only 7,000 is Michael Thomas on the Saints. The Saints look good. Jameis looked good. Michael Thomas, you can't guard him. Can't guard Mike. Going against Tampa, who, I just think they're kind of over the hill a little bit. And obviously the Cowboys were terrible. The Saints are not. And so I really like Michael Thomas at 7,000 this week.
Yeah. Well, to point out to why you should trust Fee is Fee gave us 1, 2, 3 stacks last week and all 3 hit. There's 2 ways to look at the Trevor, because I did place with my Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne stack. Was Etienne didn't quite deliver. The other 2 did, but Etienne didn't quite deliver. But because they were so cheap, you were able to get. Who did I get? I got Saquon Barkley in my lineup, who Fee also told you to pick last week going in. So, and that was my one that placed last week. So, good job. I like those. It's hard to argue with all of them, especially Jeff Wilson being so cheap now that he's one.
Real quick, Saquon is priced up at 8,800 this week.
That's a $2,200 increase.
Boosted him.
$2,200 increase. All right, so let's move on to the red zone, and it's time for starts and sits. Last week we absolutely crushed sits. We did okay in starts. Just to give you a recap, Russell Wilson was our start of the week at quarterback. He was the 14th overall scoring quarterback on the week, right? So if you started him, you probably didn't do much worse than in a 12-team league. You're right there. It wasn't our best choice, but it wasn't a complete flop. We told you to start DeAndre Swift, and we said if he's healthy, he's a must start every week. He was the number 2 scoring running back in fantasy football, so that should show you what we mean. Of course, this week he's questionable. DJ Moore was a flop. He didn't even finish in the top 50 wide receiver scoring. Evan Ingram was a flop. He was the 26th tight end, which really must have been like the 200th person in fantasy football scoring if you're the 26th rated tight end. I mean, there was no points scored. On the sit side, it was Tom Brady. He was the 27th best scoring quarterback. Cam Akers, who wasn't even in the top 50 scoring running backs, and Lockett at wide receiver, who wasn't in the top 50 wide receivers, and Gesicki, who had 1 catch for 1 yard. So yeah, good job on the sits, gentlemen. We'll do better on the sits this week. So let's get started. We'll go to you, Dunton, at quarterback. Who are you starting this week?
I'm starting Russell Wilson this week because everything that Fee said. I mean, it was the Seahawks Super Bowl. There was a lot of I don't understand really quick the booing of Russell Wilson in Seattle. I don't that was weird to me. I didn't get it. The Seahawks wanted him to go, right? It wasn't like Russ was peace out. There was almost a mutual agreement. Yeah, we're going to send you off. We're rebuilding the team.
It was mutual, but Russ kind of forced his way out over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be there last year either.
He put them Seahawks on the map. I'm sorry. The Seahawks have been relevant.
You're absolutely right. I just think it's going to take a couple of years for them to
respect it.
Well, yeah, to get over the fact that he didn't want to be there anymore.
Well, I'm starting him this week because everything you said. Against the Texans, I mean, I love you, Wayne, but I'm starting him against the Texans.
Yeah. Fee, who are you going with?
I'm going with Derek Carr against the Cardinals. I think Las Vegas needs to show up this week, and I think they do in a big way.
Yeah, I mean that's just going to be a high-scoring game. I picked a few people from that game later on, in the starts and sits. It's just going to be a ton of points. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go off a limb here, and because I'm thinking Dak Prescott's out for the year. There's teams that are searching for those kind of deeper guys, those second-level guys, and guys that could be backups. And we were talking about Carson Wentz earlier having a great day. And who did he have a great day against? It was the Jaguars. So I'm going to tell you to start Matt Ryan this week. He looked good. I mean, he did get over 300 yards. He had a touchdown. Him and Michael Pittman look like they're on the same page. His completion percentage was very un-Matt Ryan-like. It was very low. So if he can get it all together and not throw those picks and look sharp against the Jaguars, I think he has a big week. So who do we think is the fantasy football breakdown start of the week?
I think that Vegas Arizona game.
I think Derek Carr is a must start this week.
It's 48-45 that game.
Oh,
right. And as a Derek Carr owner, I'm all for it, especially since I'm playing you, Wayne. So yeah.
All right, let's lock him in. Okay, running back start of the week. Fee, we'll start with you.
We spoke about him earlier. I'm starting AJ Dillon against the Bears. We talked about the split with him and Aaron Jones, but he did get more touches, and I believe he had more points. And I think that the Packers, in order if they want to run the ball, I think they need the bigger, more physical back against the Bears versus the shifty, faster guy like Aaron Jones.
Fair. Dutton.
I'm starting Kareem Hunt because I think both those running backs in Cleveland are important to them doing what they need to do until that other guy becomes their quarterback. Kareem Hunt had 4 catches for 20-something yards and a touchdown. He had 11 carries for 40 yards and 46 yards and a touchdown. The guy's got 2 touchdowns for you as the second running back on the team. I'm starting Kareem Hunt.
And Chubb had 114 yards himself.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're going to be a 2-back team, right? With that quarterback situation, they're going to rely on both running backs.
Yeah. I was up in the air on several people. So I kind of just took the easy way out. I really wanted to say Dameon Pierce because I know the Broncos look good, Rashad Penny got open, and Lovey's out there saying he should have used Damian Pierce more. So I want to give, but I do want to. I mean, Saquon Barkley just impressed me so much. I know it's an obvious choice right now, but if you asked me 2 weeks ago if it was an obvious choice, I don't know that I would be so. So I just wanted to throw Saquon Barkley out there, and I think he is probably the top scorer in fantasy this week, as long as he doesn't bust out his hammy on breaking open a run in the second quarter. So who do we want to start here? I really like AJ Dillon, but
I like Hunt.
I do.
I think Saquon's starting in every league. So
well, yeah. I mean, obviously Saquon, but I like Hunt against the Jets.
Yeah. Okay. Let's lock him in. I'm good with Hunt.
All right.
I'm good with anyone against the Jets. It's a great strategy. I'm going to start with wide receiver. I'm going to go with Joshua Palmer this week at the Chiefs. And I also think Christian Kirk at the Colts has another big game. He looked really good. He looked really comfortable with Trevor Lawrence, and they look like they could only get better. And obviously Keenan Allen they've announced he's out. Joshua Palmer was already kind of a guy that had a lot of helium coming into the season. And I think as a number 2 with a questionable slot, I know DeAndre Carter had that touchdown, but he's not Keenan Allen. So I think Joshua Palmer has a big week, and I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game too. Dunton.
He's going to be a top 15 wide receiver when this year is over. Gabriel Davis of the Buffalo Bills. I mean, maybe higher. I mean, he's not going to be the possession receiver, but he will bust a big catch. Hopefully it's for a touchdown. A lot of games this year. That offense was really fun to watch, and they were really fun to watch, and he's going to be a key part of it. So I'm going.
So many weapons.
And it's one of those offenses that we catch every 5 years or so that that you can turn it on any week and it's not going to be stopped. Right.
And it's not boring to watch, and it's fun that it's the Bills, right?
Like when the Chiefs are in Chiefs mode, you just know that it's over, and tune in to watch whoever they're playing. Fee.
I'm gonna stick with Wayne here, but I'm going with a different receiver. I'm going with Mike Williams on the Chargers going up against the Chiefs. I think he's probably a start for everyone anyway. But with Keenan Allen out and the offensive firepower that the Chargers have, Mike Williams has to be a big part of that, especially against the Chiefs. If this is going to be a high scoring game, Mike Williams is your start.
Yeah. Obviously I'm good with either of the Chargers. I agree with you on both. And Gabriel Davis, I think all 3 of these guys are must starts this week. Even Kirk, if we threw him into the mix. So who do you guys want to lock in? Do you want to lock in Mike Williams?
Yeah, lock in Mike Williams, because I mean Keenan Allen is out. I mean, their coach basically said he is not playing tomorrow.
Yep. And tight end, Fee, we'll start with you.
I'm going with our boy.
Yeah.
EJ touchdown Hushmanzada.
Nice.
Sorry. I meant TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Right. They're playing the Commanders. We talked about how the Lions are a decent team this year, and we think they're going to win this game. I think Hawkinson gets more involved this week, and he's my start against the Commanders.
Nice. And then, man, that offense looked good. There's no 2 ways around it. They scored 35 points and fast too, right? They started out slow and they came on with a flurry. Dutton, who are you starting?
I'm starting Bonham versus the Texans. The Denver Broncos tight end. He had a very decent game the other night, and I think he's going to become a good check down for Russ when he needs it. Russ is getting a little bit older, so his running ability is not what it used to be.
Sure.
So if those other 2 wide receivers, Sutton and Judy are covered, then I mean that guy looked good the other night. The rookie, I think he's a rookie, right? Or it's his second year. He's young.
Yeah.
I'm going with him.
I'm going. He's still questionable. He was questionable last week, but I'm going with Ertz. The last time the Raiders stopped a tight end from scoring, I think Reagan was in office. So I mean, Ertz had 2 targets last week, and one of them was a touchdown. And I just think we've already said it. I think that's going to be a high-scoring affair. I also was really happy to see show favorite Logan Thomas have a great week last week, and I think he could. Lions don't do very well against the tight end. I think he could have a big game. He looked healthy. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think he'd start the season on time, so that was good to see. Who do we want to lock in here? I'm always good locking in Hawkinson. You know that.
Lock in Hawkinson. A lot of Tomcats being.
All right, so our fantasy football starts of the week: Derek Carr at quarterback, Kareem Hunt at running back, Mike Williams at wide receiver, and TJ touchdown tight end king Hawkinson at tight end. Going to sits, Dunton, we'll start with you.
Well, you both took mine, and I was telling Wayne before the show started, I had it written down this afternoon. I came home to put it on the computer, and both of my names were there. So I'm not going to give it away to the fans, but I'm going to sit Tua because, Fee, you said it earlier. I mean, the Jalen Waddle touchdown was a lot of Jalen Waddle, right?
Yeah.
He missed some open guys more than he should have. I mean, he played well, but he's now going up against us. I don't think the Patriots defense is as good as the Ravens defense. I mean, the Patriots did not look very good the other day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit Tua this week because I think a lot of people are coming in high on him after this past week. And just be careful, be cautious with Tua.
I am sitting Aaron Rodgers against the Bears. Dutton talked about it earlier. He just looks like he's checked out, and he just doesn't have the firepower, or he doesn't have the guys to make it happen. I feel like the Packers are a running team now, which is tough to say because obviously Rodgers is Rodgers, but I gotta sit him against the Bears.
Yeah. And I'm kind of going deeper again. I could see with Dak out, like you're scrambling against the waiver wire or you're starting your backup. So Jameis Winston was actually, what was he? He was Jameis Winston was number 6 fantasy quarterback last week, scoring wise. So I could see a lot of people jumping on him and thinking he's good, but the Bucs defense we already talked about it, made the Cowboys with Dak look completely lost. And I just think Jameis Winston could have one of those days against that defense where he's just all over the place throwing picks. So who do we want to lock in?
I think we lock in Aaron Rodgers because Fee, here's the one thing I'm going to disagree with what you said. I agree with you right now that they're a running team, but I don't think they'll be a running team come November, right? Yeah. I think they're going to run the ball until they can get these receivers where they need him to be, and Lazard is healthy again. I mean, because Lazard's in the game, that's a completely different ball game, right? He has a guy that he trusts. I mean, and think about it. The first pass he threw, the guy dropped a touchdown. It would have been an 80-yard touchdown.
Horrendous. Do you see the look?
Yeah. Oh, right. And that's when you knew the game was over. He just went.
It's going to be like that. It's going to be one of those games.
Yeah. So I'll sit Rodgers this week because like I said, I was going to sit both these guys, but I'll sit Rodgers. Let's take the risk.
Let's take Rodgers. Let's go bold.
Yeah.
Running back, Fiamato. Who are you sitting this week?
I am sitting Travis Etienne against the Colts. The Colts defense came into this season as one of the very highly regarded top units. They kind of didn't really look that way last week, but right. I feel like they're going to get better. And what happened in Jacksonville was James Robinson really, and again, show favorite James Robinson. We love James Robinson from last year, and I still love James Robinson. And it still shocks me that he was coming into the season as the number 2 back, but he took control of that offense, and he had more touches than Travis Etienne last week. I think that continues with, I don't know, I guess, whether it's because he's a rookie or what, but James Robinson looked really good. And it's going to be tough to play Etienne going forward until something happens with that backfield. So I'm sitting Travis Etienne this week.
Dunton.
I'm sitting Derrick Henry. He carried the ball 21 times.
Wow, you're on drugs.
For 82 yards against the Giants defense. And now he's going against the Bills deep. Did you watch that Bills defense that game? Did you watch Von Miller just be everywhere? Like, I'm sorry.
It's like he's got a new lease on life.
Yeah, like Derrick Henry, he rushed the ball 21 times for 82 yards. It's less than 4 yards. It's 4 yards a carry. Like I just, he didn't have a touchdown. So he got you 8 points, 8.2 if you play decimals, and they're playing the Bills this week.
Yeah. The Bills part is definitely an interesting twist on things because they looked really good last week. I'm going to tell you to sit James Conner. He was touchdown dependent last week. He had a bad week. They're playing the Raiders. The Raiders completely shut down the Chargers run, right? Eckler did nothing. So I think, and I know it's one game of the season. I'm not trying to be an overreaction, but James Conner didn't have a very good week last week, but on paper, he got in the end zone. So it helped a lot of things. So if he didn't get in the end zone, he had 26 yards. I think he's a sit this week. Who do we want to lock in?
I'll lock in Connor.
Connor's good. Lock him in.
Okay. Wide receiver. I'm really sad to say this because I really like Elijah Moore. But the Browns, they shut down, the passing offense last week. Again, it's 1 week, but I'm just saying, like, if you have that confidence going into the play the Jets, you're doing pretty good. They held DJ Moore in check at least. And then you got that confidence going against the Jets to take out their best receiver. So I think Elijah Moore is a sit this week. Dunton.
Fiamano talked about him earlier, Michael Thomas, and I'm going to sit him this week because that Bucs defense was good.
Yeah.
They looked like the defense that beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
But Dunton.
It's the only team that Tom Brady hasn't beaten as a Buck in the regular season is the Saints.
But at some point, you can't guard Mike. You can't guard Mike.
Can't guard Mike.
All right, well, we'll see.
Fee, who you go with?
Well, I feel like this is an obvious one, but I am sitting CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Probably until further notice.
Probably a good idea.
I mean, it wasn't just Dak. He didn't have anything going all night. Who do we want to lock in? I mean,
I'll lock in CeeDee Lamb because that was one of my
layup here. I'll take Lamb.
Yeah.
We'll cushion our stats with that one. Watch him go off for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Could be the only guy who catches the ball.
With Cooper Rush.
Right.
Tight end. I think Will Dissly is going to be a big pickup. That was like a broken play touchdown. He had a lot of points. He's a good player. He's a blocker, right? Like he's not going to get the opportunities that he did last week. And like someone said earlier, Geno Smith, he didn't do all that great. He just did all that great when it mattered at the end, right? So I think he's going to be an overreaction pickup this week. And I think you should avoid him at all costs. Fee.
Yeah, tight end is such a wasteland.
I know.
I had such a tough time, but I'm going to sit Gerald Everett this week going up against the Chargers just because I feel like, why not?
That's a good reason. And he's Gerald Everett.
Right.
Never had a big fantasy day.
Right.
Dunton.
I'm sitting Dalton Schultz because there's no QB in Big D. So
yeah. Who do we want to lock in? I wouldn't start any of these guys. Well, I would probably start Schultz, depending on the tight end situation, because Schultz at his worst is still better than probably 10 tight ends in fantasy football.
And here's the thing: while the receivers in Dallas are going to get screwed, maybe Schultz
could be
becomes the check down guy, where Cooper Rush ends up throwing him the ball 100 times a game because he doesn't have anyone else.
So sit Gerald Everett because he's going to be good for nothing.
Yeah. He looks like he should be good in that offense, but why wasn't he good in the Rams offense?
Right. Like that's what I'm saying. If you can't be good in that offense, you're not good in any offense.
So to run down the sits, our quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, our running back is James Conner, our wide receiver is CeeDee Lamb, and the tight end is Gerald Everett. That's a Thursday night game. So there you have it. That's everything. And that wraps up another week. Hopefully we have great success like last week. And we're back here reporting to you with good news and projecting more winners. So we'll see you next time. Go win some championships.